Right here. All right. Meeting will come to order at 6:05 p.m. And I have a motion to adopt the agenda. Correct? No. Go ahead.
Mr. President, I motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
Second. Been properly moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as printed. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. All right, pause, you're up. Superintendent.
Thank you. Director Womble got a couple of worthy students for us today.
Good evening, directors. This evening, we are recognizing students from Burke Academy, and the first is Axel James. He entered Missouri Options this summer without enough credits to classify him as a sophomore. He completed all his required classes and passed all 5 HiSET exams in July. Axel came into summer school behind with sophomore credits, and because of his hard work and dedication, he is Burke's first senior graduate for the class of 2020. And I believe Axel James is on with us. If he is, could you unmute and say hello?
Hello.
Hello. Congratulations. We're going to have your principal talk in just a minute. Our next student is Kendrick Porter. Like many gifted and talented students, lost interest in school and fell behind academically his sophomore year. He became determined to complete school and excel academically, and he did just that, completing all requirements for graduation within a month of school. And then finally, Clarence Brown clearly represents our children of promise. He left high school in the 10th grade with 9 high school credits. He returned to school after a 1-year absence, completing 35 classes to meet all requirements for this year's graduation. He went from a credit recovery student to a soon-to-be class of 2022. Congratulations, Mr. Brown. And I believe he is on the Zoom as well. Will you unmute and say hello? Congratulations. We are proud of you all. And I believe your very proud principal, Mr. Beatty, is also on. Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. These 3 young men have really done a fantastic job this year. I'm so proud of each and every one of them, and all of the students that have been working so hard. And Dr. Butler's on this evening as well. He had nominated the 3 young men. Just done a fantastic job of getting their stuff done and finishing up before Thanksgiving break even. So I'm super proud of them and all their hard work.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing them in cap and gowns and graduation. Congratulations. And we have a certificate for each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Womble. Another opportunity to show our shining students.
All right. Okay, there is no 4.0. We're going to 5.0 audience comments. We have no audience comments coming, correct? All right. 6.0 superintendent's comments.
Thank you, President Townsend, and to the board. A couple of comments for you today in terms of updates. One, I wanted to talk about the COVID mask mandates in terms of many people have heard about the withdrawal of mask mandates in Kansas City and Jackson County, and Kansas City did order for schools to remain. You might have observed many boards voting to take away masks or continue using masks. From our perspective, when we developed the return to learn plan, that was inclusive of mask wearing. So I think we're in good shape, but we will come back in January to review. The board at that point wants to remove that from part of our plan, but I think we're still in good shape to continue using masks. We believe that it is the best course of action right now. We still are getting cases within our schools, students as well as staff, and we're in the flu season, so If there are any disagreements around that, we'll continue to follow the plan and continue to enforce mask wearing. I want to take the opportunity to highlight something. We've engaged in the last couple of years in developing real world learning, and we're on a mission to create those opportunities for every student, connecting their learning to what's happening in the real world. And Director Rowe and curriculum department, her team have done extensive work around working programs with groups of teachers, students. And this past week, there was a real world learning symposium, which was not only Kansas City wide, but also nationwide. And we had the opportunity to have 3 different presentations that we're invited to speak to. I'm going to ask Ms. Rose to highlight a couple of those presentations so the board is going to contemporary practice of how to take the mills that is being now touted across the country.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, board. As Superintendent Obeng shared, it was the highlight of my last couple of weeks to be able to present at the Real World Learning Conference downtown. There are over 30 different districts who are engaged in the Real World Learning District, and each district brought a team composed of anywhere from 2 to 10 people at the table. We were called on multiple times to highlight some of the collaborative opportunities that we provide to students. Some of those are the South Kansas City Fire Academy that launched this year in partnership with Center in Grandview, our early college programs, so our juniors and seniors who are going to Longview for half a day. We have a brand new Performing Arts Academy, about 15 students who are coming together twice a month and working with the Black Rep Theater, and they will produce their own original works next semester. And then a micro school concept over at Burke. We have students who are actually working on a client project for the superintendent right now. So we had a good presentation from them today. So lots of building going. We're seeing some good numbers and data in terms of trending upwards of students who are earning market value assets along with their diploma. The best and most hopeful thing that you can do as board members is to help our students and families take advantage of opportunities. So we have lots to choose from, and it's just awareness is the point we're at, trying to promote awareness about those opportunities to get kids to sign up. So that's the work now.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. And board members may have some comments on that, but I do want to also add that, in January, once we are open up at Burke Academy, there'll be some initiatives that fit under that real world learning umbrella, and our students are getting some tremendous opportunities. I really wanted you to hear about this because in the education world, everyone's really kind of moving at the secondary level around this kind of practical job embedded experiences, and we're being seen as leaders thus far already. So we want to continue that march towards success for our kids. I do have a PowerPoint that I'm not going to show, but I will send to board members so you can see some of the highlights from the presentation and some of the data we have that shows that things are progressive for us here. The last item I have, I wanted to raise just to wanted to acknowledge the challenges and the stresses that our staff have been through this year. And I say staff, it's inclusive of teachers for sure in our classrooms, but also our other staff who work on a daily basis to support our students. There's been staff shortages, whether it's teacher shortages, there's been contact tracing, people are out, and we've had a number of deaths within our staff cohorts, so which has hit our school communities quite hard, and even administrators have had to be affected. And we get into the holiday season, and I know we're seeing many districts looking at ways to recognize their staff and compensate them for the work that they have done. If we had all the dollars in the world, of course, we'd be giving every single staff member $1 million, but we live in the real world. So I do have a recommendation to honor the work of our staff and to try to contribute to their wellness. I'm proposing a recommendation for December 17th, which would be the day before the winter break, to have a wellness day off for all staff, and I present that to the board for approval, President Townsend.
Okay. There's been a recommendation from the superintendent. Can I have a motion to approve his recommendation?
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to provide a self-care day on December 17, 2021, all for our faculty and staff here at the district.
I second it.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that we provide a wellness / self-care day on December 17, 2021 for staff and all district personnel or just staff? Everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
All right, let's go. Is there any discussion?
Yes, including board members get that day off as well.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, it's approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you, President Thompson. That's the end of my comments.
7.0, consent items. Has everybody seen the minutes for October 28th, 2021?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, correct.
I guess there was, yes, the adoption of the agenda, I think, for the CECL, we requested to move 7.4 to.
Just point of order, President, if you need to remove the item from the consent item,
Right.
and then we can have a discussion on it.
Right.
So if you want to remove that for correction, then you can make that motion, I guess.
Yes, I move to have the minutes removed, lost my train of thought, removed to make correct.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to move 7.1 to, that would be 8.2.
Sure.
Yeah, is there, any discussion on that? No discussion, if there anyone oppose that? All right, it's removed by unanimous, it's approved by unanimous consent. 7.1 is now 8.2. All right, seeing that there's no consent items, let's go to new business.
Can I just,
Go ahead.
just a correction, President Townsend? So 7.1 should be properly named 8.4.
8 point, oh. Yeah, it's way back there.
New business, yes, I'll ask Director Quincy to do the financial update.
Good evening, Board. At the request at the last board meeting, the financial reports are going to be in new business this evening. So these are the budget variance reports for the month of October. And
Can you enlarge that a little bit?
thank you.
A little bit lower.
That's good for me. So you'll see at the end of October, we are all in green. If you could scroll down just a little bit there, based on where the money should be falling at this time of the year for revenues. And if you can scroll down just a little bit more, same with the expenses. We are all in green based on where we should be this time of year. So is there a page 2 to this one?
That's all on this one, you want to go to the other?
There should be a fund balance report. Oh, no. Doesn't look like the fund balance report made it to, is it?
That budget variance.
It's in there. Maybe that's important. If you want to give Miss Hicks, Sharon, she can hold down here.
Okay. We're looking for the fund balance report.
We got a couple of different links that we're mixed up in. We all agree.
Ms. Hicks, you're welcome to share.
It should be on the ELT agenda. It should be on the ELT agenda if we're looking for it.
That's why she's trying to.
Ah, gotcha.
Is that correct, Ms. Wilson? Is it 55.07?
Yes, that's correct.
While we're waiting, is there anything else for them?
No, the bills to be approved, of course, are out there along with the contract list. So I'm sure you've had a chance to look at those. So I just wanted to share the fund balance of where we were, which is at 55.007. All right,
There you go.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you see, the 55.007 is the fund balance projected at the end of October for the end of the year. And make it just a little bit bigger. Sorry. Thank you. And if you can scroll up just a little bit, you'll see, I just wanted to show the ending balance of where we are at this moment.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'll make it bigger for you.
Oh, that's fine. The 44 million is the projected operating fund balance. Is what that 55% equates to at the end of the school year is what we're projecting. And that is with ESSER 3 built into the budget. Does anyone have any questions regarding the budget variance reports or the fund balance report? No? Okay. Thank you.
Seeing none, I'd ask the superintendent's recommendation to support the November financial updates.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation on
Yeah, the financial updates reports. Miss Kendrick, can you, people down this end can't hear you,
Oh,
so
sorry.
you're good for this one, I think, but going forward might be the next.
Yeah, first. Come back.
Mr. Obeng, can they also approve the bills to be approved in the contract
get the
list as
whole-
well?
get the
The whole
whole
thing?
thing.
Okay, thank you.
What do I need to say it to you?
No, I heard you, but I know they couldn't hear you down there.
We got one more.
Go ahead, second.
I'm a second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Did we, accept the did we approve the recommendation of the superintendent's November 2021 financial updates? Is there any discussion? Is everyone not in favor? Seeing none, the financial updates are approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you, President Thompson, and board. And I'll say thank you, Ms. Wiltse, and not just Ms. Wiltse, but the entire district in terms of following in order that we're almost midway, and we are still in good shape in terms of a healthy fund balance in the school. So kudos to all staff who contributed to that success.
Okay, operations bond update.
All right, it's my pleasure to call up for the first time
New kid on the
Executive Director of Operations, Kevin Robinson. So he called you Nikki Block, so you gotta do some moves there.
I don't know, I have to practice something for next. So, good evening, board directors and Superintendent Obeng. I have with me this evening architect Justin Durham of Hollis and Miller and Marquise Canyon of Universal Construction here to give us a bond update this evening. Mr. Canyon, are you ready?
I am. If we have the PowerPoint.
I don't see a PowerPoint.
Mr. President? Yes. We don't have the PowerPoint. Marquise. Sorry, it's not on
Okay.
our agenda.
He's looking to.
No.
You'll have to share from your end. Canyon.
Okay. I mean, quick second then.
You want to email it to me? I can send. I can put it up quickly.
Can everybody see that?
No, not yet.
Negative.
Just see you.
I will try and email it again then. I will try and email it to the superintendent right now.
I'm still waiting. At least if you sent it or not.
I just hit send.
Well, Mr. Roberts, how's it going?
To be determined.
Can you start with the verbal, Justin?
I can give you guys a very brief design update. So I told you, I think a couple meetings ago, that we were going to start design in November. We actually started gathering documents and starting our internal design process last week. So that really looks like us setting some internal schedules. So we met with our civil engineers, our mechanical plumbing engineers. We're pulling together drawings, getting our background drawings set for Truman, Santa Fe, Freedom Markley, and Smith Hale are the 4 buildings that we're looking at now. We're also working with Miss Rowe on a CTE space at Burke. And so right now what we're doing is kind of getting all of our background drawings together, taking the scopes of work that we presented to you guys as part of the bond scopes, and getting documents ready to start meeting with Mr. Robinson and the buildings to start defining, making sure that we have the scopes captured that we want to have in for next summer's projects. And then we will start the design process. So in December and January, you'll see more from me in terms of, remember the drawings that we showed last time and some of the renderings and things like that will come out of the design process. So you'll start to see more of those in the coming months.
Go ahead, Mr. Kenyon. I don't know if you can see it, but we can see it.
Okay. There we go. Okay, yes. Good evening. Okay, so nothing's changed here as far as the construction budget is concerned. Next, please. Director Watry, you asked for the names and dollar amounts to be present again of those contractors. So here's that list. Next, please. So we're still sitting, and I've been saying over the last couple of meetings that as we get closer with the additional participation that we received, and really in like the sanitation arena, this 30.8% will go up. Next, please. So at Ruskin High School, we're still pushing. Right now, we're about 80% complete in the theater with the framing. The next step of that is throwing in some wood blocking and drywall. We need to figure out really when the seats are coming. That's been a issue for us. Next, please. Cafeteria, we've got it. Everything down low is has been made usable and complete inside the cafe at Ruskin. We are actually turning this space over so that the students can eat in it on Monday. And then what we're going to do is go back in over winter break and finish everything else that's up high. Tectum panels, I wanted to show this because there's a little, I guess to the right of the screen, you'll see up at the top, there's panels there, and we have been waiting on those panels since last May, and they finally showed up and we were able to get them installed 100% inside the cafe there. This is a shot of the music and band room. We are about 80% done in both of those spaces. We're going to give this back once the school comes off of winter break. We'll be 100% complete there. Over at Burt, there's an ADA ramp that needed to go in to the north, and so we've gotten that placed, and it looks good over there. Next. At Compass, we've started the abatement on the gym windows and the replacement there. So up at the top, you'll see plastic. We're actually in the process now of installing all of the glass in those openings. Dobbs Elementary, we actually turned over the majority of non-priority restrooms. They're 100% complete, so we've moved to the last couple that are in that facility. Admin area is 99% complete. This is a shot of the nurses area in the admin space. We're planning on turning this over on November 22nd. Over at Irving, we're getting into the restrooms. It actually had the most restrooms. I think 35 was our count. So the principal over there has been working with us really well and allowing us to get into those spaces and get those complete for him. Here's a shot of Ingles non-priority. We actually finished this, and I believe we turned over those restrooms this past Tuesday as well, the same as Dobbs. So we're now working on the non-priority or the priority restrooms that the principal wanted us to focus on first. Here's a shot of the secure entry. We do need to get some glass in, and we're planning on turning this over right after Thanksgiving. Over at Warford, we've turned over or should be turning over a couple of the restrooms there. We're about 95% complete. We did have the acoustical panels, the ceiling tiles show up. And so that's the other 5% of the work that we were holding back on as far as their non-priority restrooms go. With materials, most of our toilet partitions are here. Roofing materials, we're still expecting those to arrive, although we did hear today that fasteners may be an issue still. The rest of the tectum panels or sound absorbing panels, we're expecting to see sometime in the next week or so. We're still tracking mid-December for gym equipment. Now, Ruskin's ticket booth, all materials on site. We actually will start placing concrete tomorrow. And so the masonry work will start on Monday, and we should have that building erected and probably complete after the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm thinking first, second week of December is anticipated. And then Burke and Warford both have a fire rated glass assembly. And so their main entries, while we're still working in that office area, right now we have not been able to get the manufacturer to commit to a date. And so we're pushing on that. And as soon as we get that, we probably have 30 days worth of work after that system is received. So these are our big ticket items in terms of materials that we're tracking and we need to get in order to get complete. And I think that is it for me. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to thank you for providing us with a tour yesterday and giving us where we can actually see the actual updates and not just from photos. And I appreciate you staying late with us last night to answer all our questions. And I know we did have some concerns, and I hope that we can address those soon. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I had a question. What are two stages? Why is the question came up earlier today that a lot of the elementaries are losing their stages? What lost
Yeah, they lost their
What was
stages. So I can give a little background on that. When we did our long range plan and we started talking to the schools about what we wanted to do with the bond, some of the concerns at the schools were that the lunch tables did stay in the cafeterias all day. So they were kind of a burden to clean around. They were in the way for PE classes because they were a kind of multi-purpose type room. So during the design, we were asked as the design team to remove the stages, and then those would become storage spaces, or they could open the curtains and expand the cafeteria or gymnasium space to be a little bit larger of a space. So that's where the backstory came from. That would be Mr. Weekly. Yes. Yes. So our process last year was a little bit different than we had done in the past, where we would typically, as the design team, meet with each set of schools, but we were in kind of the pandemic COVID mode. So we would meet every week with Mr. Weekly, and then he would then meet with the principals, and then he would tell us what scopes of work that we were to move forward with. So.
Is there a fix for that? Because, you know, students have lost their stage for performance, for concerts, for plays.
Mm-hmm.
All that is lost now. So what is the fix for that?
Off the top of my head, I mean, I guess we could purchase risers for each building so that they would have like portable risers that could be moved in for that purpose. We do that at a lot of schools that don't have a stage. So that could be a potential solution, or we could rebuild the stages. I mean, those would be kind of the two options off the top of my head that I could think of if we wanted to, have a solution there.
Yeah. Can I just add a comment? Thank you for Ms. Kendrick, Ms. Coleman, and Ms. Carter, who've been on this in terms of spending their hours and time to look at specifically at the work there. So one of the things I think we've learned from this process, and COVID had an impact as well too, is that, and Mr. Robinson, I know we've had conversations about this going forward, that we will ensure to have a process that engages the school level.
Mm-hmm.
So, what they need, and as well as the principals' input, because some of the principals are not aware of it, but no sense going back and forth. And we're now going forward, we're going to be taking a new process in terms of how we do the design stage, especially for the next phase. In terms of corrective action for those the stages that we've lost, I would ask Mr. Robinson to engage principals again and talk about what their needs are, and then determine whether it's something that risers will amend those things, or we need to look at a more permanent, because there might be some flexibility around them before we take action. Let's get them into the conversation before we take any action, and we'll certainly do an update to the board and board members who are most interested around what happens on that.
Yes.
Yep. Will do.
Anything else on the bottom? Seeing nothing, we'll go to legal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. For the first legal, the second reading of the October policies, we did meet in policy committee, and I'm going to kind of refer this over to President Townsend, who chairs that committee at this time.
All right. Like Dr. Skinner said, we met on the policy committee met Monday. We went over the policy with the committee, which include Director Watcher, myself, and Director Graves, our attorney, Ms. Phillips Johnson, and Dr. Skinner. And we came back with a recommendation to approve those policies as presented in the committee. But before we do that, I would like to
With the recommendation, make a discussion. Do that later.
well, I'm thinking we can, if we do we had the first reading, the first reading in policy. We had the second reading of the October policies done in committee. We had the first reading of the two new policies done in the November committee meeting.
Because I could do.
So we can do a second reading. Would that be appropriate to do a second reading of the two policies?
Correct. I mean, if you like, I can walk you through those real quick. The first.
Well, hold on. I thought that the committee had met.
It did.
Was that not the second reading when you guys met?
No, those were, there were two additional.
There were two additional policies that we talked about that we brought for the first time.
Recommendation to Superintendent recommends October policy recommendation in the policy committee. There's a batch that went to this committee.
Right.
Look at that and bring that back for final recommendation.
And then hopefully if the board wishes, we can approve all of them at one motion.
Oh, without doing two.
So,
Go ahead.
it may be cleaner just because you've got them listed as two items on the agenda to just go ahead and approve the first group and then take up the second group.
All right, the attorney has spoken.
Mr. President.
Yes, Director.
So, being the fact that we read about, to give a recap for the public, we read about 38 different policies that were under human resources and academic services, board, business and finance, and more or less general rules. The majority of the reasons why we took this policy was based on the aspect that these policies needed to be updated. Within that, I'm asking for, the recommendation for those, I'm motioning, I'm making a motion that we accept the recommendation of the policy committee and, the second readings of these policies, all but which ones that were presented for their first reading, which is, sorry, I'm trying to find it, ECA and, EHBC AB one.
GCBA.
Yes, thank you.
It's on the, thing posted there.
Right, yep.
Okay. We need a second.
I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that you accept the policy committee's recommendation to endorse the policy. Second reading, update the policies as needed.
As presented.
As presented, okay. Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none.
There's none?
Seeing none? Seeing none, approved by unanimous consent. All right, let's go over to the last two policies that are presented.
You want to talk about ECA? So the other two policies, ECA, buildings and grounds, security, that is going to allow us to work with employees if they tamper with any of the district surveillance cameras. And we had nothing in place to address that. And the other policy, GCBA, professional staff compensation, what we're looking to do is remove the 11-year cap to bring in employees at that step. So we'll be able to bring them in higher than that step if that is approved.
That was your second reading. Do we have a recommendation to accept those policies?
Mr. President, do you want to have him read that line by line so we're all
No.
aware of what's happening?
I can explain. First policy is, like Dr. Skinner said, was to acknowledge that there will be consequences for
Tampering.
with surveillance equipment. So you can't go in there and spray paint the camera in the room or in the hallways and see what's going on, what's going on in the hallway, or whatever. All right.
I have it up here if you want to.
What it does is it allows you to, if a teacher or staff person has 12 plus years, you can actually use their 12-year, bring them in at the correct step that they actually qualify. It doesn't cut it off at 11.
Correct.
So, you know, the person with 15 years experience and is longer at such and such pay level, you can actually bring them in at that pay level and would have to take a pay cut.
That's correct. Currently, the only way for that to do is if the superintendent overrides his policy. He does have that. He does have the permission within the policy.
So now, Casey, you just automatically bring them in.
He'd be able to bring them in. If somebody had 15 years experience, they would not be capped at 11. They'd be able to be brought in at 15 years.
Is that sufficient for everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we get a motion? No, we need a motion.
You want to use this is here's the, fill up to the top of the screen. So you can see the two policies here. So these two policies, ECA and GCBA.
Mr. President.
Yes, correct.
So moved, that we, accept the recommendation of, in the second reading for approval of ECA and GCBA.
Can I have a second?
A second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the policy update for DCA, policies DCA and GCBA.
Mr. President, just a
Yes.
question real quick. Carla, do we need to say the amendment or just I want to make sure that the motion reads clearly in the minutes.
I think just the update to, those policies.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's approved by unanimous consent.
And the next set, there is a first reading of November policies that would also like to refer to the policy committee for December second reading, and then be brought back to December's board meeting for approval.
Mr. President,
Okay.
I move that the policies in which that Dr. Skinner is referring to be moved to policy committee for a second reading.
I second.
All right, we moved and seconded that the December, you said December?
For December reading.
Yeah, okay. November policies be moved to December.
Just approve the policy.
Yeah,
Refer to the policy committee.
Yep.
Moved and seconded. All right, is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's approved by unanimous consent. Then we'll go to the policy committee.
I'll see policy committee again in December.
All right, future agenda. Oh, no, Rebecca, 8.4.
Just for practice, Mr. Thompson, I should have caught you sooner. We probably didn't need a vote on that because I was just referring it. Superintendent was referring to policy. We could just done that straight instead of having to go through a vote.
Okay, now we're at 8.4, which is the board minutes.
Mr. President,
Yes, Director.
I think that the thing that both I think Ms. Kendrick and I also saw was that the adoption of the agenda states that Ms. Kendrick moved to have pretty much to have 7.4 moved to new business 8.7 on the agenda. I believe it was I who made the motion, and it was Ms. Kendrick who made the second. Just for clarification.
So instead of this grade, oh,
Ms. Graves is
yeah,
yeah, that's right.
Watry, second,
It's just reversed.
just reversed, okay.
Did you get that clear for the record, Ms. Hicks? So are you saying should we Carol Graves out to adopt the agenda and
Scratch out.
Cecil Watry moved to have 7.4 moved to new business 8.7 on the agenda? Irene Kendrick seconding the motion. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes then?
All right.
Mr. President, can we, I motion to adopt the agenda, with amendment, with the correct amendment, yeah.
Second, we moved and seconded, we adopted minutes from the October 28th, 2021 meeting, striking out, in 2.1, striking out Irene Kendrick, putting in Cecil Watry, and then striking out Cecil Watry, putting in Irene Kendrick. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, approved by unanimous consent. All right, future agenda items. Is there anyone that has suggestions on future agenda items?
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead.
We still need to review previous board minutes from April up until last month. I think think the last one we approved was September, but we haven't approved any minutes prior to that.
April to take from April.
April till September. September was. And those minutes added to the agenda, please.
Forgiveness. Why was computer? Well, we'll get those first. Okay, can I get a motion to go into closed session? Mr. President?
So can I just,
Yes.
we're gonna recess from public session and go into closed session. We'll have to come back out.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like the motion that we go into recess, for open session and go into closed session, 610-021-123 and 13 RSM.
All right, we moved in second. That we recess, open session, go into closed session. Pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 6.10.021, 1, 2, 3, and 13. Ms. Graves. Ms. Coleman. Mr. Watson. Aye. Okay. Ms. Stanton. Mr. Townsend. Aye.
Ms. Carson.
Ms. Carter.
Aye.
Sorry. All right, 6-0.
Okay, please have a good night, everyone.
Yes.